Hello and welcome to the news at BPS, and what a busy week it's been. I begin with news from Sony and the launch of the new Venice 2. Not to replace the Venice, but merely to add to it with a Venice and a Venice 2. And what does this camera bring? Well, it brings a load of beautiful cinematic goodness. The Venice has been a very successful camera for Sony, definitely taking a lot of the high-end market for cinema and commercials. And the Venice 2 builds on that with two new sensor options. We have the 8.6K and we have the 6K that can all fit within the Venice 2 body. So this allows a little bit of backward compatibility with the original Venice body. So that body with the 6K sensor, I believe the 6K sensor from that can travel to the body of the Venice 2. The 8.6 can't go down to the Venice for reasons of power and pipeline compatibility, but the 6K can. So we have an 8.6K sensor and a 6K sensor available in the Venice 2, and it's got its usual bulletproof build quality, but it's been made a little bit lighter, 10%, and a little bit shorter because they've taken that external R7 RAW recorder and somehow, via the magic of wizardry, they've squashed it into the box. So it's a shorter camera, it's a lighter camera, but it now has internal RAW. Delivery times for the Venice 2 are around the late February, March sort of next year. Certainly something to be thinking of if you are a Venice user. But if you don't have such deep pockets, but you'd like a brand new 6K cinema camera, perhaps we can tempt you with something else. Something from Blackmagic, which has updated their URSA Broadcast G2 with a brand new sensor. We believe the sensor from the 6K Pro, a Super 35 6K sensor in a very, very affordable body. £3,000 more or less plus VAT. It comes with the shoulder mount, the top handle, and on the front a B4 mount for a B4 lens, and on the back a V-lock plate to power the camera, and all of that for £3,000. They even throw in an EF mount as well, and there's the option of PL and a Nikon mount as well, F mount. And that's where it gets a bit interesting, because this camera at its launch, there's no doubt about it, is kind of a broadcast streaming camera. And in fact, Grant showed some quite astonishing camera control via his iPhone, where he connected up and was actually able to control the camera remotely from anywhere. But the interesting bit is, yes, it can do the broadcast element, yes, it can do the streaming, and it looks like it has this astonishing camera control. But if you take off the B4 mount and you put an EF mount on there, you've got a 6K Super 35 sensor, and you've got much better low light than the original broadcast camera. And you've got the dual ISOs, you've got sort of 400 and 3200, and actually you could put all sorts of nice glass on the front, and in effect you've taken the 6K Pro body and put it into a more conventional shoulder mounted cinema camera. So I think that camera has a lot to recommend it at that end of the market. And actually, is it three cameras in one? Well, potentially it is. Certainly two. So I'm looking forward to having a play on that. And lastly, this week, a quick mention of Cooke. Cooke have brought out a range of full-frame zoom lenses. 50 years after the first lens, they've brought out a 30 to 95mm and an 85 to 215mm Varolal zoom lens. These look very tasty indeed. They're T2.9, they have that Cooke look, and at the same time they've updated their primes, the Pancho Eye Classic Prime series, to properly cover full frame. Now, of course, the older lenses, the 65, 75, 100, 135 and 152, did cover full frame, but the wider aspects, 18, 21, 25, 27, 32 and 40 and 50 did not. You can in fact actually order new coverings and markings for those longer focal lengths, so you can update them so your whole set can then have a similar look with distances and markings on the barrel. So that's the news for this week. Lots happening at the high and the low end to keep us all busy in the run up to Christmas. See you soon.